OK, first though, Liverpool's season has gone from bad to worse as they were knocked out of the Carabao Cup by Crystal Palace. The Premier League champions were beaten 3-0 at Anfield, and it's the first time they've lost 5 domestic matches in a row for 72 years. Over the last month, no team has lost more games than Liverpool has across Europe's top 5 leagues, whilst Palace's reward for the victory is a trip to Arsenal in the quarter-final. Alan Owen is at Anfield for us this morning. Alan, I mean, an awful run of results, isn't it, for Liverpool? What does Slot put this bad run down to?
Yeah, it's dreadful, Hannah, isn't it? Good morning to you. I think the sun's doing its best to try and come out here at Anfield, but the sun is certainly not shining on Liverpool at the moment. That's certainly a fact. There were many disgruntled Liverpool fans, not only prior to the game, but certainly afterwards last night, prior to the game, when they saw the team news drop and the fact that Arne Slot had made 10 changes from the side that lost at Brentford at the weekend. Only Milos Kirk has remained in the starting 11. There were 3 teenagers in that starting side, and there were 5 more on the substitutes bench. Nobody over the age of 21, and nobody there in terms of senior support, really, should it go wrong on the pitch, as it so obviously did. And that is Liverpool's 6th defeat in 7 games in all competitions. As you mentioned, it's a 5th successive domestic defeat, and it's a 3rd defeat to Crystal Palace this season, who are fast becoming Liverpool's real nemesis. A damaging result, and some may say Arne Slot was in a difficult situation. Liverpool needed a confidence boost. They certainly didn't get it, and in the end it's turned out to be, as you say, one that could damage morale further. So what were the justifications really as far as Arne Slot was concerned in his team selection? Here's what he had to say.
You know, the pressure is there, and I don't think it has changed much after this loss. This club has always used this competition for their academy players. This felt to me as the right decision, but and I haven't changed my opinion about that after the result. Before I went out, I saw City's lineup, and I don't think they had one starter from the weekend. But it felt as if you look at their lineup, they played with their 11 starters. When we played Chelsea, I said they're missing 8, but they can still bring Estevao in. Now we're only missing 4. Already we needed to start with 4 players under the age of 19. And after I made 2 substitutions, we were on 6. Many reasons maybe why we've lost 5 out of 6 or 6 out of 7. None of them are good enough to accept.
So Slot saying that Liverpool's main problem is that the squad is too small. Will that be a problem all season? And is that a valid reason for this run?
I don't think that's going to wash with Liverpool supporters and supporters up and down the country, really, in terms of a squad being too small. Liverpool strengthened, in inverted commas, you would probably say, in the summer by spending over £400 million, over 300 million on attacking players. Obviously, it takes time for those players to fit in and gel into the team that Arne Slot wants to see on the pitch. But he certainly took his major players out of the firing line and kept them fresh for the weekend. That would be the view of the optimistic Liverpool fan. But certainly now Liverpool have got to deliver on the pitch over the course of the next week, because they have some very big games coming up before the international break kicks in. Aston Villa on Saturday evening here at Anfield, followed by a Champions League fixture against none other than Real Madrid. Then it's Manchester City away on Sunday before the international break. I suppose the good news for Liverpool is that 4 of their next 5 fixtures, including those after the international break, are at home. So an opportunity to really step on the gas, really, and try and get back to winning ways. But you would feel that it's done more damage rather than good, this result last night, and the side that Arne Slot picked, by the very fact that they could have done with a real confidence boost, and morale has probably been damaged further. And the very fact that he's talking about a small squad would indicate that he's probably is not quite as pleased as he is in terms of the strength of his squad, given that Liverpool have got to play Champions League fixtures followed by Premier League games. He would have known that at the beginning of the season, that fixtures come thick and fast, and the squad has got to be good enough and strong enough to compete, and they've got to start getting back to winning ways against Aston Villa at Anfield on Saturday evening here.
Alan, thank you very much. Well, after Liverpool's loss, Jamie Redknapp criticised Arne Slot for that team selection and said that fans don't want to hear too much negativity from their manager.
When you ask what's going on with Liverpool, there's so many things. There's so many things. It's not just the defence. It's not just the midfield. It's not just the full. It's everything right now. And they've got to show some character. They've got really tough games ahead. But I think today, and I haven't said it very often about Arne Slot because I think he's been sensational, but today was a big mistake. You can't tell me that team was ever going to be capable of beating a really strong Crystal Palace side. I think for Arne right now, there's lots of sort of negative chat that's coming out, and I don't want to hear that too much. The fans don't want to hear it.
Well, as for Palace, they had a bit of a humble brag on social media, saying Liverpool again, W again, after a third win over the champions this season. Manager Oliver Glasner said that it was disrespectful to say that the victory was because Slot chose to name a weaker lineup.
It was Arne Slot's decision, so we never care about what the others are doing. I've seen Joe Gomez, who I don't know how many games he played for Liverpool, won the Champions League and the league with them. I've seen McAllister. He won the World Cup. I played 19 years professional football, and I was never good enough to be playing for a Liverpool or being in the Liverpool squad, because all these players are very good players. It would be disrespectful if we say, maybe it wasn't the strongest team, but it was a very good Liverpool side.
The staunchest Liverpool fan can't be angry tonight because the group of young players got sent out there. And I really felt for that group of players. I've made my debut for Liverpool in this competition. And the one thing you want when you're a younger player, 2 or 3 younger players playing, you want experienced players around you. That team had no chance of beating Crystal Palace tonight. Even Crystal Palace brought some of their first team players onto the pitch in the second half. It was one-way traffic from minute one. I felt for Nalo, who got sent off. He made his Champions League debut, got sent off. He made his debut in the Carabao Cup tonight, got sent off. But it really was a rookie error from Arne Slot. I have to say, Kay, when you look across the board tonight, and you look at Newcastle, and you look at Spurs, and you look at Arsenal, and you look at Man City, and you look at Crystal Palace, they all played sides with probably 4 or 5 first-team players in it, or at least 3 or 4, 5 first-team players on the bench. Newcastle tonight brought Bruno Guimaraes on, they brought Joe Linton on, they brought Anthony Gordon on. Arsenal brought Bukayo Saka on, they brought Gabriel on, they brought Declan Rice on. Those kids that started the game tonight, it was even younger on the bench. There was no first-team players to be seen on the bench. So what chance?
Like, what's he telling us by doing that? Because you're at Anfield, you need to turn the game around, and your team selection, when it comes to the bench as well, how is he going to do that?
It was awful. It was awful, Kay. Now on social media, a few guys came back at me and said, well, you know, Don, Liverpool have got 3 games in a week. They've got Aston Villa, they've got Real Madrid, they've got Man City. Newcastle have got 3 games in a week. Man City have got 3 games in a week. All the teams that are playing in the Champions Leagues have got 3 games this week. So I've got no idea. I couldn't get a handle on why he put that amount of youngsters in the starting 11, but the bench was just even younger. It made no sense whatsoever. As I said, when you're a young player, Kay, trying to make your way into Liverpool's first team to try and catch the eye, you want experienced players around you. They had 0 chance of winning that. So Liverpool fans will come away from that being so frustrated at Arne Slot because he has to take the blame. You know, it's not the young kid's fault. Arne Slot put that 11 together and put the bench together. So it's totally down to him tonight. So Liverpool fans will come away from it thinking no blame on the youngsters. Tried their best. It was too much for them against a good Crystal Palace side who deserved their win. I think Ali was saying there 3-0, all of it. Could have been a lot more, could have been 4 or 5. But Arne Slot's got some big questions to answer tonight.
So, Sheka, what can we read into him putting out this 11 today? Does he just want done with this cup competition so he can focus on getting things right in the league?
Yes, is the only conclusion you can draw from that. And to be fair, Arne Slot's not alone in this. And while Don makes reference to a number of other Premier League clubs, all of whom, City apart, had Premier League opposition, you see wholesale changes. And the truth is, while you're happy to be in the hat for the next round, if Newcastle had lost, if City had lost, I'm not sure that Eddie Howe or Pep Guardiola is losing any sleep as a result of being out of the Carabao Cup. This cup is used and has been used for quite some time more for fringe players, to get them involved. Now, it became more of an issue for Liverpool because of the current run that they're in. If Liverpool were top of the table and they went out in a similar fashion, nobody would bat an eyelid. But because of the run that they're in, the question then becomes, do I bring some of my senior players in just because they need a win, they need some confidence, they need some momentum, But clearly, Arne Slot thinks that things aren't maybe as bad as current results may make it seem. I'll just go with how I've always planned to approach this competition. Throw the kids out there. If we lose, so be it. I'm not losing much sleep over it.
Well, let's take a look at what's ahead for them, Don. Obviously, beyond Aston Villa at the weekend, it's Real Madrid and Man City. But with this game, Aston Villa at the weekend, what does he need to do here? What's the plan?
Well, ironically, I actually think Liverpool will beat them because Aston Villa won't park the bus. That's been Liverpool's problem. I think Villa will come and try and win the game, which might suit Liverpool. I think it'll be an entertaining game. I think there'll be goals. I think you showed the stats there, the graphics that Liverpool had conceded the first goal in the last 7 games, no clean sheets in 10 games. So they're going to have to find a performance, Liverpool, because they can't. And that's 2 games now they lost at Anfield. Doesn't feel like a disaster when you only lose 2 games so far in the season, but it could get worse. Those 3 fixtures there are tough on paper. They're going to have to start the season somewhere. And the team talk from a manager normally is when you're in a bad run, right, guys, what's gone's gone. Our season starts against Villa. It's the only way you can approach it. You can't look at Real Madrid during midweek thinking, oh, I've got one eye on that one, because if you lose another Premier League game, I think personally the title's done. I don't think Liverpool have got enough clean sheets in them. I think Arsenal are streets ahead of Liverpool defensively. So Liverpool's season starts against Villa. It has to.
Necessarily this competition. How damning is this for them now?
Very damning. It's going to be even worse for Arne Slot. And I said he's probably put more attention to himself in what he's done with his team selection and what he said. And for Liverpool fans, they want to see their club win. Yes, you want to bring the youngsters through. They've got some youngsters in the squad already who've had some minutes in the Premier League. But it's about winning now. It's about creating a culture. When you're in a football club and you go in a bad run, it's one of the worst places to go. Yes, you know you're blessed to be a professional football player, but the criticism that comes from ex-players, TV, the newspapers, the local fans, the fans that you bump into, oh, you lot are crap. Like, you've got to deal with that. You want to win as quickly as possible. Regardless of what game or what competition it is, you want to win. Winning puts you on a high, and it just changes the atmosphere tremendously in a football club. When you go into training grounds after you lose games and you continue to lose it, it's a horrible place to be in. You don't want to be there because everyone's down. But when you win, everyone's happy, everyone's having a laugh and a joke. How's the family? And it's just a nice atmosphere. Right now, the clouds are very dark at Liverpool. And when you come off a performance like that, and then you also talk about the youngsters that were put in a situation, Nalo who gets sent off, coming in as a centre-back, it's one of the hardest things to do. If you're making attacking changes, it's fine. They can make mistakes up there, it's no problem. When you put in that responsibility in young kids and they get sent off in a situation like this and they're losing a game, it's only going to make the atmosphere there even worse and be very difficult for these youngsters to see any positivity or any light.
Do you think the more they spiral, Grella, as well, the harder it is for them to get out of it?
Yeah, I think so. 2 clean sheets in 15 games, probably you start there, right? Anytime I think a manager's struggling, you have to look at how we're conceding goals and where we're conceding goals. I came in today, I wrote on my notepad here, lazy tracking from the midfield. That's also from the first 11, right, where they have big problems as well. We keep talking about the changes, but they've struggled coming into this. They struggled a little bit last season in some regards as well. Some of us here were saying, oh, they're good, but they're not the best team in the world for sure. And now,
when they were winning games, the writing was on the wall.
The writing was on the wall. And now you just see the tracking from Endo in the midfield. You don't want it to become a habit where guys are just not doing the fundamentals right? Where guys are not tracking guys from the midfield, where guys are not sliding over when they need to slide over. When guys are not competing in some of these different moments, making poor decisions. I do fear for Nalo because that play will replay in his head a million times tonight and for the next week.
He got sent off on his debut.
No, but forget about
his full debut, and now he gets another opportunity to get sent off again.
But this was the trampoline touch first. Like, they had the possession of the football. It's not like, okay, the ball goes over your head, you're a little late, and you grab somebody. This is like you had the ball, and you trampoline touch it to the other team, and then you take the guy down. It's a nightmare for the young player.
Let's take the youngsters out of it, because we know so about what they said. For me, the worry for Liverpool is the senior players. Kirk has started today. We questioned about how they would set up. You see Andy Robertson going to like a centre-back role. Kirk has been getting criticism for his performance at Liverpool since he's gone there. And again today, I look at the first goal. I think he's got to take responsibility. So even if you're Arne Slot, you put a few of your senior players out there and you're still seeing these mistakes, how are you going to correct that? Because when you look at the response we give to your senior players, Kirk has for tracking Osar for the first goal. He gave the ball away high up in the pitch. Doesn't really see the danger. That's the big, more worrying concern. When your senior players are not reacting, seeing the danger. If it's the young players making mistakes, no problem. Youngsters, big night, making their debut, you can take that. But when your senior players are still making the same mistakes, when you're given an opportunity to get things right, to do the basics right, and they're not doing the basics right, that is when the alarm bells continue to go. Because how are you going to go from this type of performance? And if you start Kirkes again against, I believe, Aston Villa next, that's going to be a worry.
Nige, you said it best during the broadcast. I think we're going to learn more about Arne Slot in these moments than whenever it was that he was winning. You talked about that first goal. How many times have Liverpool, maybe this team that's a mix of young guys and the starters versus the teams throughout the season, have been getting done by these long balls? Look at the game against Manchester United. It's a long ball over the top. The spacing isn't right. The communication between Van Dijk and Konate, oftentimes, almost uncharacteristically this season, Liverpool are so vulnerable. And sure, offensively, they have all the firepower, but defensively, they're struggling. Chiesa said against Brentford at the weekend, they sat in silence in the dressing room. It seems like they don't have a response. And this was today, I felt like it was a moment to control the narrative a little bit more, because it is spiraling, like you say, Poppy. And this loss could be anecdotal by the season's end.